Hello, Mario.
Hi, Yomi, how are you?
Very nice.
How's the trip going? Where are you now? The same place?
We are in Provence, in
Yeah.
Saint-Remy, and tomorrow morning we're going to Nice for Shabbat.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. It's been
Okay.
beautiful, beautiful. We had a very French dinner. We had pot à feu. It's like a beef stew
Yes.
cooked for 10 hours or something.
Oh, was it good?
Yeah, it's delicious. The cuisine is extremely French, which I love.
Yeah.
You're immersed in a real, different cuisine. Very much heavier than what we eat typically
Yeah.
in California, but I like being exposed to it.
Okay.
We were in a shul today that was built in 1350.
Wow.
Yeah, very old shul that's in pretty good shape. It was well decorated. It's the oldest shul in France. The Pope, there were these four towns that were under the control of the Pope. They were called the Pope's Jews. And they were
Mm-hmm.
not expelled. When they expelled all the Jews from France, they didn't expel these because they were under the protection of the Pope. And
Wow.
these were these cities that were under the protection of the Pope. So very interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, we're on Tesvav, Amud Aleph, 50. We said that you can't sell an animal, a big animal to a goy or because they're sexually inappropriate with the animal. But Rabbi Eliezer Rav Makom she'asur liyachid mutar limkor. He said, even when there's a concern of sexual misconduct with the animal, you can sell to them. My time, huh? Goy chas al behemto shelo te'akir. One of the reasons the non-Jew is buying this animal is perhaps to sell it eventually. And if you have relations with the animal, you might damage it in terms of its ability to reproduce. It would become less valuable. So there's a chazaka that he's not going to have relations with the animal because it's going to decrease his potential profit. The Af Rav Hoderbe, and Rav agreed. Don't Rav Tachlif Rav Shila Baravini Shmei Rav Goy Chas Al Behemto Shlo Te'aker. So we don't have to be so concerned about selling to them. You couldn't sell them large animals, my time. No? We just established that we're not concerned about sexual impropriety, but but they might do work with it on Shabbos. And at least for Jews, it says you have to keep your animals rested on Shabbos. So the Gemara asks the obvious question: the Navid, what's the problem? Kivin de Zavne Kanye, he bought it, so he owns it. It belongs to him. He's allowed to work an animal on Shabbos. The Gemara answers, Gzeira mishum she'elo mishum schiros. Yeah, but the non-Jew may loan it to a Jew or rent it to a Jew, and then they'll do work with it on Shabbos, and that's a problem. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? She'ela kanya. If you loan it, he acquires it. Agra kanya, rental also acquires it. So it's temporary. So it doesn't belong to the goy. So why shouldn't they be able to work it, especially if they sold it to another non-Jew? Before they sell the animal, he's selling it. He's doing the transaction right before Shabbos. Let's check it out to see if it can work well. And the animal hears the voice of his owner, the Jew, and he walks towards the owner. The Jew is happy with it because it's showing that the animal is healthy. However, you have a problem on Shabbos. You're not allowed to lead your animal on Shabbos, even leading it with your voice. Now, maski floor of shisha, bredavidi, uschiris mikani. You said before that if somebody rents it, he acquires it. Gemara says he doesn't acquire it, but not. Af b'makom she'onru, shemuter lahaskir. Even in those places where they said that you're allowed to rent an apartment or a house to a non-Jew, lola bezdira onru. It's not to be able to dwell there. We have a problem. He will put his idols there. Now, but if renting a house from someone is considered full acquisition, so why should we have a problem if the non-Jew brings an idol into his apartment? That which he's bringing an idol, he's bringing it into his own house. He's allowed to do it. Why should the Jew care about it? It's a special chumrah by Avodah Zarah. And even though he doesn't completely own it, there's a isser. Don't bring an idol into your house. Muscular of Yitzchak, brother of Mishashi. Uschiris mikanya, rental. Does that acquire it for somebody? But not. Yisrael shesachar para mikohen. A Kohen rents out his cow to a Jew. Yochlena karshina truma. It belongs to the Kohen. Ultimately, even though you rented it, you don't acquire it, and therefore you have to feed the animal beans of truma. And the opposite, Kohen shesochar parm Yisrael, a Kohen that rents a cow from a Yisrael, avol pi shemin zazeh aleh. If you rented an animal, the responsibility of feeding it is on you. But here we say lo yachilena kashine truma. You don't give him truma because the cow belongs to Yisrael. However, if you're going to say that somebody rents it, acquires it, and the Kohen rented it, why should we not be able to feed the animal truma? Party day, it belongs to him. So we've proven that rental is not something that acquires the thing for the person. Hashta de amrit. Now that you said that rental doesn't acquire it for you, and the owner still remains the owner, so why can't we sell we initially said we had a problem with selling an animal to a goy, he might rent it, but now it's not, we've rejected that. This thing about the Jew calling the animal will follow it. He permitted selling a donkey through like an agent, a Jewish agent. Because this issue of the animal doesn't know the voice of the broker. It's not his. The broker is not the one who's really changing the ownership. He's not going to rent it or loan it too much because if it has a blemish, it's going to be revealed. He eventually wants to sell the animal. So too much publicity is not good. Ravuna Zavinahi Parlakoin. Ravuna sold a cow to a non-Jew. Don't you know that Allah, you're not allowed to do that? He told me he was going to shech the animal and eat it. So all these other concerns about, all the concerns we have, go away. Why aren't we concerned? Maybe it'll still be a lifnei iver problem. Disnan, because Beishamai Oimrim lo yimkor adam parach oreshes b'shvius. A person should not sell his cow that plows during the Shemitah year. Obviously, the one who buys it is thinking that he wants to use the animal to plow, which is usher in Shemitah. So Beis Shammai doesn't allow you to do that. Beis Hillel matiri. Why? Because maybe the buyer just wants to eat it, and it's not necessarily for plowing. Amarabba mida. There's no comparison. Hasa by Shemitah. You may not. We have a prohibition of working the field, but we don't have a prohibition of preventing our animal from working in the field. And therefore, you could use the svara that he's not miskaven for work, he's miskaven to eat it. But by selling an animal to a non-Jew, there's a special pasuk in the Torah that we're supposed to make sure that our animals don't work on Shabbos. That's his sin. So to be a suffix that it might occur, we can't even get involved in that. Amr lay Abaya. So Abaya said to Rabba, whenever a person is commanded that something has to rest, Asr, even because there's a suffix very sadeh, a field. You're not allowed to have your field worked on Shemitah. Utnan, the Shammai Omrim lo yimkor adam soda near b'shvius. A field that's plowable, you can't sell it during Shemitah because we're concerned that the buyer is going to do that. They sell material. The buyer can also leave it fallow and not work it. So we also sort of use the concept of toilet. We can use this leniency, even though we are prohibited to work our field. Masculine Ravashi. Whenever a person is not commanded that one of his assets is not allowed to work on Shabbos, shari that is permitted, very kalim, utensils. They ain't not a mitzvah shvisas kalim b'shvias. You're not. You have a rake. There's no special din that the rake can't do work. Utnan elohim kalim she'en adam shalom b'shvias. These are the implements you can't sell. Hamachreshim, which is like a rake, v'kol keleh, plow. Bamazara is something that you like also like something that you throw hay up. Vadeker, a plow or like a hoe. If we have a svara to say that it could be used for something permitted, so avagav the mitzvah, you're still prohibited to do it, even though your mitzvah for its resting. But if you don't have a svara to be toileted, avagav the mitzvah. So we have a get there regarding how you have to be concerned about it. Rabbi Zavinahu Chamali Yisrael, Achoshed Limkor Legoy. A person sold his donkey to another Jew, where it was suspected he was going to sell to a goy. Armalei Abaya, my time of Marachi. He asked him, why do you do it? Armalei, Anal Yisrael Zvini. No, I intend to sell it to a Jew. Armalei, Va'ozom is Avinlei. But you're selling it to a Jew, but he's going to go and turn around and sell it to a goy. The goy come now, goy come Zabin, Israel come Zabin. Who says he's going to sell it to a goy? He might sell it to Israel. So you don't know for sure that he's going to sell it to a non-Jew. So he permitted it. So Esveit. So we asked the following question. Makom shenagu limkor behemadakalakusim. In a place where it was permitted to sell sheep and goats to the kusim, mochrin. If a place that was a minig shalol limkor, ain't mochrin. My time. What's the reason? Are we concerned that they're having relations with these animals? There's small animals, not Tanya. Ein mamidin behema b'tekushal goy. You cannot leave your animal with a non-Jew who watches these animals. Zacharim etzal zacharim. Male animals or male people with male animals. And the kevas etzal the kevas. And you can't put female animals with female women. even though there's no issue there regarding relations. If it's cross-sex, it certainly would be prohibited. We don't give animals to their shepherds. We're concerned they're going to sleep with them. You can't be miyachid with a non-Jew. He's going to attack you. Don't send him to their schools. Or to teach him an occupation. For all these same reasons. You could put an animal in a warehouse to be watched of kusim. Even cross-sex, males with females, and vice versa. Men and men and women and women. They're not going to be over the Torah and violate a prohibition of the Torah. And to kusim, you could give it to their shepherds. You could have yichud with them. They're not going to kill you. You could send them to a kusi school and an occupational school for them. We see that we're not choshev for them. We don't sell a non-Jew lo zayin, not weapons and ammunition, lo klei zayin, weapons and ammunition. We don't sharpen their sword. Lo sadin. Sadin is some kind of protective thing for your feet. I guess like the knights would wear them.
Mhm.
The lo kulrin, like something that a metal bar that you wore on your neck that they put prisoners in. The lo kvolim, like handcuffs. The lo shoshos, about metal chains. Echad goy v'echad kusi. Here it's going kusi alike. My time, huh? He named the chashidi. They're going to kill you. You're allowed to be yichud with the kusi. The problem is we're concerned they're going to sell to another Jew and they're going to do something to you. So how can you sell? How did he allow them to sell a donkey to a Yisrael who was suspicious of selling all these things to Goyim? A kusi is certainly going to sell it, but Yisrael can be about tshuva of a tshuva. Maybe he won't sell it. If you have a Jew who's all life making his living selling items to non-Jews, he has to be suspected of that forever. So you can't sell it to a Jew either. So Rabbah recognized that Abai was right. Roy Basrei Tloso Parsi. He ran after Abai 3 miles to wipe out the sale of the Chamor. Vikid Amri Parsa B'chala, 1 mile in the sand. V'lo adrachen, he couldn't reach him. Amr Avdivi Barav Kedech also limkor lagoy. You're not allowed to sell ammunition and weapons to a non-Jew. Also limkor listim. You can't sell it to robbers, to Jewish criminals. Mario, we learned that in a lot of these, in the Middle Ages, there were many Jewish criminals, bandits, highway robbers, vagrants. They didn't have they didn't have a way to make a parnas. So that's how they made a parnas.
Yeah.
They wandered from city to city. And it's a fact. If this Jewish bandit is suspected of murder, so pshita, we certainly can't sell him implements of weapons. Hainu shall go. It's the same thing as a goy. If it's not a murder issue, so Amailo, why shouldn't we sell it to him? Loylam deloy katel, we're not dealing with a murderer. Achmaiskinon b'mashmuta. You're talking about a ganav. who there are times the zimun the offer if you try to take it away from him, he's going to kill you. So that type of ganev you may not sell to. Torah bono. And moichel lehem treason. Treason is like armor. It's just protective. It's not offensive, but you can't sell to goy. Yesh oimrim moichel lehem treason. Something you can sell them armor by time. Huh? You. It protects them. Low, maybe we shouldn't sell them anything, even wheat and barley, because they can't fight without eating. On a Ravi Yefsha, now we can't prohibit selling to them. Okay. Now, let's talk about tomorrow.